right, I've got Matt Fredback here, prosecuting attorney for Blaine County. Thanks for sitting down with me today.
Thank you.
So I think just kind of our conversation I want to walk through is, I've been here for 16 years. You've been here for what sounds like about 20.
Right.
21 now, I guess.
Yeah.
We probably came here for similar reasons. It's the lifestyle, right? It's the recreation. It's the outdoors. It's the community. It's that kind of family feel you have. We know each other through hockey. I think everyone sort of has, like, whether they're soccer or softball or skiing, like, you all have your community. But I think something that we often don't think about is where your role shows up that makes this community feel so safe, right? I leave my keys in the car constantly. My doors are unlocked. We
Sure.
still have that community, right? So where and how does the prosecutor's office help protect that quality of life in the Sun Valley area?
Well, I think we all we want to live in a community where we can get away with locking our doors at our house, or leaving your truck open, or your mountain bike in front of your house overnight, and feel somewhat secure and safe, and not live with the fear that if you don't, something's going to be taken from you. And so I feel like the prosecuting attorney's office is we're two things. We're proactive and reactive. We try to create and be a part of this community where there's this high level of trust, and that we want to make sure that we can live like that. But at the same time, we shouldn't be naive or complacent, and sometimes bad things happen even in our community.
Yeah.
And then I think our office is there to react and to make sure that those people who do things that hurt someone or steal from someone or negatively affect our quality of life are held accountable, and that there's a process that's transparent and in the courtroom that we go through that makes sure that if you make a bad decision, there's a consequence for it. And oftentimes that's the real goal, is to make sure that they don't make that bad decision twice.
Right.
And to keep them a part of our community, and to help them in any resource that we can provide, and keep them as our neighbors.
Yeah.
Often, sometimes that doesn't work that way, and we have to pivot our approach to, if someone deserves a bit larger consequence, or they end up having to go to prison for their crimes, then that's the trust that is placed in our office as prosecutors, to make sure that we do our job and that we hold people accountable. But I would say that that's a small subset of the population we deal with. I mean, really, we're lucky. We have good people in our community who all share the same goals and security and safety, and we all want to live that way.
Yeah.
And so we kind of step in when those things are imbalanced, but we also more proactive. I think what our approach is to make sure that we're not in that position, and then we can all live in a safe town. Yeah.
Can you touch on some of those proactive pieces that you guys are kind of trying to stay ahead of?
Sure. I mean, it starts with the fact that most of the people that we are working with or come into our office are not bad people. They're just people who make bad decisions.
Yeah.
And so sometimes there's real driving factors behind those bad decisions. And we live in a town where I think it's a ski town. There's this party atmosphere. People like to come here and have a good time, and we want to make sure that if they get a DUI, or if there's some substance abuse underlying issue that needs to be addressed, that we're really focusing on those things and making sure that they can get the help that they need. And that's the proactive approach, is to make sure that those resources are available. And then also, we try to get involved early, before things get out of control with people who come into the system, and we try to give them a lot of breaks to make sure that there is a way out for them that doesn't necessarily criminalize all the things that they're getting involved in.
Mm-hmm.
But if they need help, we want to say, hey, we're going to hold this over your head, and let's see if you can get the help that you need. And if it works, then there's an alternative than going to jail.
The proper level of accountability.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. And that's a balance. And that's kind of hard sometimes it's hard to decide, but I think that's the job that we are called to do, and decisions we're called to make, and we try to do it the best we can.
Well, like you and I were talking before, right? It's like no 2 days are the same.
Right.
And every case is going to be unique, and every person's going to be unique, and
Totally.
you've got to bring all those things to the table and sort them out.
And we live here.
We do.
We're a part of the community. And so, yeah, I think that we know that living in here, that we're able to see the kinds of the population that we're dealing with and try to address it appropriately, not overly heavy-handed, but at the same time, if there's a victim of the crime, we want to make sure that that person feels like justice was done.
Yeah.
And that there is trust in the system.
Right.
And in our part, as a prosecutor's office, we want to make sure that works.
Yeah. Walking that line to make sure.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure. Awesome. All right, let's talk about kind of the small town standards, which I think you've already touched on here, or the safety network, I'm sorry here. So
sure.
How does your office work with local law enforcement to keep the Valley safe? What kind of tether is between those two divisions?
We work really well with our police agencies in the Valley. And most of the officers that I work with for a long time. And so there's relationships there, and you get to know them, and there's a certain level of trust that is built in between our office and each police agency up and down the Valley. And we also want to make sure that the lines of communication are open at all times.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, part of my job is being available, and same with the office. And when an officer has a question or they need some help in making an appropriate decision, we always want to make sure that we're there to answer the call.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have a rotating on-call schedule that there's a prosecutor whose responsibility is to answer. And then often with me, like, I welcome those calls all the time. And then, we have like monthly chiefs meetings where each chief from each agency, we all get in the room together and we talk about issues that we're dealing with up and down the Valley. I mean, people live in Bellevue and work in Ketchum, and live in Cary and work in Haley. And so there's a lot of people that are moving throughout the Valley. And so we talk and we try to address things before they get out of control. So we have these frequent meetings where we all sit down and talk. And for instance, we have, a sheriff that's new to the sheriff's position.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he's done a great job at being a good leader for that department. And he and I have gotten to work together really well. And so for me, it's just that sort of being available. We, as a prosecutor's office, provide training to all law enforcement twice a year, where we all get together and we talk about cases that we've handled, specific debriefing through cases and what the court has ruled, and how we can help officers make the right decisions, and at the same time kind of get us all together and talk about things that we're dealing with on a local level.
Okay.
And so we try to provide that, like I said, twice a year, and I think that's a really good time for just all the officers to get in the same room. And we spend 4 hours, and we do it a 4-hour session in the morning and 4 hours in the afternoon, and just talk about questions that they have.
All right. Is that something that is that like a mandated thing, or is that something that is unique to our?
I feel like it's unique to Blaine County. I kind of adopted it from my predecessor, and my understanding is that law enforcement have certain like requirements and CLE, like, continuing education requirements.
Yeah.
Oftentimes those are done like statewide through conferences. I think what's unique about what we've done is just doing this on a local level, because I think a lot of the problems that we're addressing are unique to Blaine County in this sort of rural area. And we're a big county. So we, all the way from, Snake River to Alturas, we're basically dealing with a lot of different area. And so I think it's unique to us that we try to bring everybody together and provide that opportunity and legal training to make sure that they're up to date on changes in the law, legislation, case law, and basically that question answer.
Okay. Well, it's interesting because it ties into the next question, which is that community piece. So you guys are kind of forming that community within your realm of work. So how does working in a small, tight-knit community affect the job? How is it? And again, maybe an unfair question since you haven't been the prosecuting attorney in Boise or a much larger city, but what do you think is unique about that role and what is really just a tight-knit small area?
Well, a couple of things come to mind. I mean, one of the things I love about being a prosecutor in a small community is I'll go to court and I'll have a sentencing on a felony case that's relatively serious case. And an hour later, I'll go to Atkinson's and get a sandwich, and I will see that person I just sentenced in line or walking down the aisle.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's that certain level of accountability that's there,
Mm-hmm.
that you look at the person that you just sentenced, and I did my job in telling the judge, this is why I'm doing what I'm doing. But you're also looking at them outside of the courtroom and seeing them in their environment. And I feel like that helps me want to be fair.
Okay.
And they understand what my role is. I mean, that's my job as a prosecutor, is to do my job and to say things that I feel like it's not always positive. But they also understand that that's what I'm there to do.
Yeah.
And I don't want to take that too far and be mean or rude. It's just, this is my role. And I think that if you're too heavy-handed or you go overboard when you have that encounter at the restaurant or the store, you feel that way. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's what's unique about being in a small town. It's like everybody lives together.
Yeah.
And so we're not apart from that. We're a part of the community just as anyone else is. And so I feel like that's unique. And the other thing is, we have a local bar. Like, the council, the attorneys that we work with are all a part of this community as well. And so there's a certain level of trust that we have with each other. And we know we have a case that we're not going to agree on. We're going to fight the way we're supposed to fight. It's an adversarial system. Mm-hmm. But we're also going to have another case with them tomorrow.
Yeah.
And so the way that we have to do our job is with integrity and trust, and our word means something, and that goes both ways. And so I've worked with most of these lawyers for a really long time, and I think you develop that sort of, you get burned once or twice,
yeah,
you don't forget that. Your
learn.
Reputation is all you got.
Yeah.
And so I
true.
feel like, especially with us, that means a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And it means a lot with credibility with the court. And so we have to live that, and I think that's important. In a bigger jurisdiction, I think you're seeing new people all the time. You don't sort of have that same level of accountability that you do when it's a small, dozen attorneys that work here, and we all kind of do the same thing.
Yeah.
So that's probably I think there's a lot of rural areas in Idaho where that same relationship exists, but we're certainly one of them.
Yeah, because we are rural, but we are. There's the population's not big, but it's certainly different than a Camas County or a.
Certainly, yeah. Yeah, or in Ada County, where I think there's this huge population.
Yeah.
And that job is, in a lot of ways, totally different than the job that I do.
Yeah. Did that surprise you at all, or did you kind of know that being in this office in some respect? Were you aware of that sort of? I guess it's a magnifying glass if you call it anything, right?
Yeah. I think I was aware of it, but I'm constantly reminded of it.
Okay.
It's something that you deal with every single day.
Yeah.
I ride my bike to work, and you just see. I don't live in this anonymity.
You're a public figure.
I'm around, yeah. And
yeah.
My kids are around.
Yeah.
My wife's around, and we're on the bike path, on the trails. And so when you're a part of the community, I think people kind of see you as somebody who they know,
mm-hmm.
and that can be good or bad. But
it cuts both ways.
It does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anonymity is nice.
It can be.
It can be, right?
Yes. Yeah. It's hard here, but it is nice.
Indeed. All right, let's talk about the kids. You and I both are dads. We've got kids about the same age. So are there ways that your office works to prevent any problems with the youth in the Valley before they start?
Yes. And I think that's a really key part of our office is just kind of that same community discussion that we just had, is because we're in a small town and we have kids. I see the youth in different, with hockey and sports and skiing and everything else. I think it's really important to be involved in the schools, and we have made an effort to do that. Like after our meeting here this morning, we have what's called a MDT, which is like a multidisciplinary team, but it's focused on kids. And so we have members of the school district, we have law enforcement, we have St. Luke's, and then my office, and we all get together and we sort of talk about both issues that directly involve kids and the youth, and then specific kids that we know either are going down the wrong road and we need to intervene, before they become an adult, or they need resources, or their family needs resources that are identified through maybe the school or through the hospital, and then we're able to kind of get those resources to them before things go down the wrong road. So that's one thing that we're involved in. I mean, I try to go every time I'm invited. I go to the school. We talk to kids. We do this turning 18 class, which is go in front of the school, and it's usually I think it's late in the junior year, and talk about how the law changes when you're 18.
Okay.
And how all of a sudden the focus of the criminal system is not how to keep you in the community as it is for a juvenile and keep the community safe, but there's a retribution aspect when you become an adult.
Yeah.
And how the law changes there, and that's a very definite fine line of being 17 and then being 18.
Yeah.
And so, try to teach them about what their rights are, what they can expect, what their encounters with law enforcement should look like, both to protect themselves and to protect law enforcement, and just how to be a part of like a good person in our community, like trustworthy. And cell phones are this new thing that maybe it's not new, but definitely it's a way.
I think if you look at the grand scale, it's
right.
It's pretty new, right?
And this is an avenue to so much trouble. So we talk about that, like what you shouldn't have on your cell phone, or what you shouldn't do with your cell phone, and what the ramifications are there.
Mm-hmm.
So we do. I do that as much as I can. The sheriff this year started this Explorers program, which I've been involved in throughout the year. We meet, I think, every other month, and it is kids, I think, from middle school to high school, and we basically, as law enforcement in the prosecutor's office, we talk about these different issues that, Fourth Amendment. We talk about, we do like a stop the bleed CPR class. We did drug dogs yesterday, where, there's probably 35 kids in there, and I do a part in instructing them what the law is, and what the Fourth Amendment is, and how it protects their rights. Mm-hmm. And then we have law enforcement talk about, this is how we do this in the field. This is how we had the canines come and had live drugs in the classroom, and then they would hide them in the vehicles, and they would watch the canines run around the vehicle and find them. And so it's sort of a way for us to sort of bridge that gap between law enforcement, which can be seen as scary, I think, especially to kids.
Yeah.
And kind of create some relationships there, and for them to get to know them as just people also in our community with a job. And I've seen it play out throughout this year, and I think it's going really well. It's just another way for us to be involved in the school. We take every step we can to try to make sure that we can keep kids out of court. But once they're in court, we also understand that they're kids. Yeah. And they make mistakes. And here we are as a judge and as a prosecutor's office and as a defense attorney, we're all trying to just address those mistakes in the right way. Yeah. And keep them going the right
Hopefully
direction.
they're learning moments, right?
Again, it's, good kids making bad choices.
Yes.
And I think that happens more when you're a teenager than hopefully it does when you're an adult. Yeah. And if it doesn't, then there's a different approach.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes, when those things start to build up on each other, decisions.
You start to see the signals there, and then you have to change the way we handle those things.
Yeah. Any advice you'd give to parents in the Valley, or?
I mean, I think just being, I think getting to know the police and having sort of some community and interaction. I hope that there's a level of trust there, of making some phone calls and teaching your kids, obviously, how they should behave, and then we all live here together, and trying to treat everybody positively in a good way. And that doesn't always happen, and when it doesn't, there's a way to handle it. And I think parents' intervention early is way better than when it gets to us.
I'm sure.
And so, everything that they can do, just being involved, being, as as a dad, like being there. Yeah. And helping. Yeah. And being able, you can address those problems at home.
Call out those early mistakes.
You see them. Yeah. I'm sure as a parent, you see
them.
Oh,
yeah, it happens, right?
Yeah. And you're like, hey, I know what just happened here. Let's talk about it. Yeah. And we should do this again. Yeah. Or using that as an example moving forward. Absolutely. And I think, as an adult, we still have those moments of what I just do. Yeah.
All right, let's
Yeah.
talk about growth. The valley's grown a lot over the last few years. It feels like it's maybe, plateaued. And I did talk to Jim, our assessor, and maybe even we haven't gone backwards, but there's not as many, no new home applications being submitted. So, but over the course of the last 5 years, how has more people moving to the valley? How has that affected the legal system here at all?
Well, I think with more people, it comes with more crime.
Okay.
I mean, we try to prevent that as much as possible, but I think just an increase in population translates into probably more court cases. Um, and so we, as an office, need to be efficient. We need to make sure that we're handling cases the right way. I mean, the courtroom is busy. There's a lot of people in there. We want to make sure that we're doing the right things in the right time frame, but not to the point where we're just processing. I mean, these are still individual people with individual problems, and have to we have to focus on those individual people. But at the same time, I think that there is a certain efficiency that we try to do and to make decisions that are fair and appropriate. In some cases, require more attention than others. And so we try to make those decisions early on from an efficiency standpoint. If we can get a case resolved in the right way, right at the beginning, let's do that.
Yeah.
But you can see it. Our courtroom, especially with the misdemeanor caseload, it's increased substantially. And our Mondays, which is our law and motion day, it is just, you're going all day long.
Yeah. Bell to bell.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then at the end, it's a deep breath, and then sometimes it spills over in Tuesdays and Thursdays. And so, I mean, ultimately, I think there'll be a day where we're, as an officer, going to need to grow.
Mm-hmm.
We're hanging on the best we can, and I think we're doing a good job at that. But I see, if the trajectory continues, that we're probably going to need another prosecutor to help us, do the job right.
Okay.
But that's a discussion that I think we're starting to realize and have. And looking into the future, I think that might be a request that we make.
Okay. Does us being a resort area where we do have that influx of people that just come in for the week or the weekend, does that add to it as well?
It certainly adds to it, but it doesn't. Maybe we've always had that.
Yeah.
That sort of, I think you can look at the statistics. Our midwinter and midsummer are times where there is a spike.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not. I don't think that's new to us, and I don't think we've seen an increase in sort of those tourism-related crimes. But it does, and there's a delay. Like when those things happen, those months happen where we have more law enforcement contact, more crimes that come out of that. We tend to see that 6 weeks to the next 6 months.
Those people go home, and then,
right.
Yeah.
For World Cup. I mean, World Cup was a major event for the whole community, and then we saw that as it kind of spilled over in the next few weeks following.
Yeah.
And we had increased patrol. We had a lot of law enforcement in town to make sure that it was safe and well run, and I think it was. But that certainly involves our office.
Yeah. There's just a lag.
There is a lag.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about why Blaine County from a safety standpoint. What makes Blaine County different from other places in Idaho?
Well, I mean, a lot of the same things I think we kind of talked about. From a safety standpoint and from a community standpoint, I think that we are unique. We have so many different organizations in our valley that are dedicated to helping others.
Yeah,
from the advocates, Senior Connection, to Hunger Coalition. I mean, there are so many different groups out there that are all trying to help our population.
Yeah.
And we have a diverse population. We have a lot of people with a lot of the affluent community, and then we have a lot of people who live in poverty. And so I think one of the things that's unique about us is that there are these different resources out there. And we, as an office, the prosecutor's office, we meet regularly with all of them. And we have this community response team where the advocates and Hunger Coalition and Senior Connection and we all in school district, and we all get together and talk about things that affect all of us, maybe more as a community, substance abuse and mental illness and affordable housing. And you can't prosecute your way out of those problems.
Yeah.
those are things that need to be addressed on a fundamental level, and we have the tools that, and we're still building them as a community to help us grow and be better. And I think that you can see that from all these different angles. And I what's really helpful and beneficial for our community is that sort of relationships between all of us in being involved, being proactive, and trying to help those people who need help in ways that sometimes they're not going to reach out. And so we have to go to them.
Yeah.
I think that's what's really special about Blaine County is knowing that they're out there and being able to work with them to try to help people who need it. And at the same time, like we said, I think the best thing about our community is if you leave your bike unlocked, or your kids walk to the store unattended, or they'll get called out on their own. I mean, my kids will run wild in the store and somebody will step in and say,
yeah,
this is not
what are you doing?
Behave.
Yeah.
And I think that's
true.
Amazing. Like,
it is
that's
true.
what I would want from my community.
Yeah.
And so I think that sort of local connection is important, and we still have it.
Yeah. I mean, it's like you said earlier, right? Like you're under that microscope in your role in the courtroom, and I think our kids are. I think we all are in the community that way, right?
Yeah.
It's like
there is no.
There's Zach acting silly. What's he doing?
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Someone's going to be like, "Why? What are you doing, man?" Like,
right?
Yeah, it's great.
And people see you.
They do,
and you're in the wild, and you're out there doing your thing.
Yeah.
And if you're, cutting in line, you might end up in Miscellany 2 the next day.
You very well could. Or Miscellany 3, which is, the new Friday drop.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there is a certain level of just everybody's sort of keeping an eye on each other. And that's what trust is. And that's what the community really is.
I think that goes back to, when I started these videos, that was my overarching thing was like, what about this place is special and unique? And I do think that part is really special and unique and that's not a negative where we're holding each other accountable or our kids are being held accountable. I just think it goes back to making the community what it is, right? We're all kind of bought into what we want this place to be.
Yep. And even people who are new here.
Yeah.
I think they see that. And
they do,
bring
I believe,
in their own, where they came from and their own big city living, and then they see how we treat each other.
Yeah.
And to be a part of this community, I think that help transforms them. And that's a pretty neat thing to watch.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And I think if you don't, it's just not your place, right? I think you kind of, you get into the flow of that or you don't.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. All right. Last one here. Misconceptions. What's the biggest misconception people have about crime or the justice system here in Blaine County?
Well, I think, as just generally a member of the public thinks that crime is so far removed from them, and that it's easy here to live sort of in this complacent or naive world where nothing happens around.
For sure.
And so, you read the paper and you can see some of the bad things that happen here. And so I think that there is a misconception that everything is safe.
Yeah.
It's not, and it won't be. But at the same time, overall, I think we live in an incredibly safe community, and that we're all lucky to live here. So I feel like just kind of acknowledging that there is crime here, and there are bad things that happen, and that part of our job is to make sure that is handled the right way. And the other thing is that I think there's this misconception, and I think the media and everybody feeds into it, is that prosecutors and police are bad, and that they're scary and they're always out to get you, and that there's this target. And I feel like people who know your local police or people who have had interaction, hopefully with our office, see that we're not that way, that we are a part of the community like anybody else, and that we're there to help. Before things get into the courtroom, we want to make sure that it doesn't go the wrong direction. And so I feel like there's some misconceptions there. I mean, it's scary and it's intimidating to be in a courtroom, but at the same time, we're not throwing people in prison. Like, that's not our job. Our job is to make sure justice is done. And sometimes that looks differently. It can involve prison, but 90% of our cases don't.
Yeah.
And so, I think our goals as prosecutor is certainly there's a protection of the community part, and that's the overriding factor. But people who go to jail get out of jail, and they're back in the community. And if they didn't get any help, then they're going to be back making the same mistakes they made the first time.
It's rehabilitation, right?
That's a huge factor.
Yeah.
And I know the court sees that, and we see that. And rehabilitation in our community is, we don't have a lot of the resources that Ada County has or Twin Falls County. And so making sure that we build that up so we can get people the help that they need. And if they continue to make the same mistakes, well, there'll be increased consequences for that.
Well, it's that proactive, reactive thing that you said before, right? It's like, I didn't realize how tied into the schools, right? I know when I drop my kids off at school, I see the police, but you interacting with the police in the way you do with the continuing education, if we can just call it that, and you touching base with the nonprofits, and just, that's that proactive side.
Sure.
Right? And then obviously things are going to happen, and that's where you need to be
reactive.
Yeah. All right, let's wrap it up here. What makes you optimistic about the future of the Valley?
Well, I think we're moving in the right direction. Like, some of those community resources and the nonprofits and the people that dedicate their time and effort to help others in our community makes me optimistic. There are countless services out there that, from St. Luke's, the Flourish, Far and Wise, there's so many, even the unsung heroes, the people that are out there trying to help our community, and the issues that we're addressing as Blaine County. I see that as we talked about, unique, but it's so optimistic to know that those are part of our fabric of our community, and that they're all working together, maybe now more than ever, to try to help. And I think as an office, we're in a really good place. We have a great team here that share the same mindset, and all of us have kids, and all of us are part of the towns that we live in. And so I feel optimistic in that we're doing our part and doing a good job in being prosecutors in this community. I think that we're moving in the right direction, and I'm excited to see what the future brings.
Yeah. Well, I'm optimistic after talking to you.
Well, good.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm glad to hear that.
Anything else that we didn't touch on that we should have?
Not that I can think of.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Appreciate the time.
Thanks,
yeah. Thanks, Matt.